Well, earlier today, former President Thabo Mbeki saying that the ANC should reflect on what's happening now and ask itself, have the lives of South Africans really changed? Now, earlier we commemorated Youth Day and we looked at the challenges of young people in the past and currently in South Africa. Today, the former president decrying the alarming unemployment stats. And of course, we know that young people bear the brunt, with more than 60% of those under the age of 24 facing unemployment. Tonight we look at the role of young people in bringing about social justice, in bringing about change. And we're joined by Ziyanda Stuurman, who is a manager at JPAL Africa at UCT. She's also one of the top 200 young people chosen by the Mail and Guardian. Ms. Ziyanda, thank you for joining us. Firstly, JPAL, tell us a bit more, because you evaluate the impact of social programs. Is this a bleak view, or could I say it seems like nothing is working regarding giving young people in South Africa real hope and real purpose and jobs?
So I think that there are many programs that are out there that are trying to work towards facing many of the issues and addressing many of the issues that young people have. Whether it's unemployment or whether it's lack of access to good education. I think that there are very many programs that are out there, but particularly what JPAL does, and JPAL stands for the Abdul Latif Jameel Poverty Action Lab. What we try and do is evaluate these programs to see how much of an impact they make, and specifically for how much money they do so. I think that there are very many programs that are out there that compete with each other in terms of trying to address many issues, particularly around youth issues. But not all of those projects or those programs should necessarily be funded, or that the money that is put into them actually puts out worthwhile results. And that's part of the work that we try and do at JPAL, is to really evaluate social programs and see which are cost effective, which have the most impact, and which have the best results.
Yeah. Off the top of your head, I mean, can you tell us about the programs that we as a country should be excited about, and some of the things we should chuck?
I think some of the best programs that have sort of come forward have been those that that seem sort of low cost or particularly low tech. For example, in terms of helping young people who are looking for jobs to have access to reference letters and to show that, or to signal to employers that, yes, I have a CV and I have some skills and I have some potential, but this is who I've worked with, and so I'm a trustworthy person, particularly as a young person and as a worker. And I mean, that doesn't take very much money at all for young people to have access to reference letters, to have access to action plans in terms of what they're looking for, in the workforce. And so those programs and those that work really well with internships, I think, really connect young people to opportunities. A lot of programs, unfortunately, that are based in or rooted in a lot of very high tech or digital technology or even digital media don't necessarily reach young people, and specifically young people in peri-urban areas, in low-income communities, and in rural areas. Yeah. So if we're trying to sort of look at tech to solve many of the issues, we really need to be very cognizant of what sort of technology and what sort of technology tools are young people actually using. And so if we're funding, many of these programs that promise to do all sorts of things, but they're not reaching young people, then those we really have to evaluate and say, are we investing in the right place?
Yeah, and then it becomes a waste of money, and everybody wants something technological. The former president pointed out today that Walter Sisulu University dealing with a situation when many people come and they have to learn online or they have to use computers and they have no computer skills. So then where do you address that problem?
That problem, I think there are many points at which you could address it. There's, at the school level, and I think basic computer literacy, whether it's from primary school or very early on in high school. There's also plenty of research to show us that young people can learn computer literacy and digital skills, even in their early 20s and sort of early in adulthood. And those type of programs can then be helped by, 6 months sort of computer skills training and adaptation. So there are many and multiple points at which, those skills can be learned. I think it really is important to not simply assume that every young person, just because they have a cell phone, they then can work their way around multiple computer programs or do programming or social media or digital media. I think those are very different things. And if there is job training available at their first place of work, then that's perfect. But if not, then certainly at the school level and early on in their careers, it makes a huge difference to have those skills available to them.
So something that first employers can do. Somebody on this show recently was criticizing the National Youth Development Agency, saying actually not enough young people are involved there and not enough young people involved in anything in South Africa that deals with the plight of young people. Do you agree?
I think that there's definitely a reluctance to try and speak to young people, even when we're trying to address young people's issues. I think there are a lot of stakeholders who believe that they know what young people need or want, and that can range everywhere from sort of education sector professionals to those in government, to local government officials, or even to prospective employers themselves. There's an idea, I think, that we have of young people, and we're not actually reaching out and trying to speak to young people. And there are really incredible organizations that are doing really great work with young people themselves and saying, how can we connect you to opportunities? So off the top of my head, I would think of Yes for Youth or Harambe or other programs that are really rooted in communities, but specifically really empower young people to have their own voices and to say, these are our issues, this is how we feel they could be addressed, and then trying to connect them with policymakers.
All right, we've run out of time, but some hope there in terms of some of the programs for young people. I hope we can chat again in future. That was Ziyanda Stuurman, Policy Manager of JPAL Africa. Now, this is the big news today, a new variant of the coronavirus.